sitting around the table and negotiating a trade agreement. Is that what happens in a no-deal scenario? You sit down and you negotiate a free trade deal with Britain?
You know, I'm sure we'll negotiate a free trade agreement with the United Kingdom at some point, but
you know, said in the context of a hard Brexit, do you believe that people would sit around the table and negotiate a trade agreement?
I didn't hear the question. Sure. I didn't hear what he said in context. But what we'd anticipate happening is that if the withdrawal agreement is passed, that we will try to negotiate a free trade agreement.
But he was talking about a hard Brexit situation. That's the context.
Yeah,
in the context of a hard Brexit.
If you let me finish the question, in any scenario, obviously at some point we will try to negotiate a free trade agreement between the UK and the EU. Generally it takes between 6 and 7 years to negotiate a free trade agreement. Against the backdrop of a no deal, it'll be much harder. So the best way to set up the right environment in which a free trade agreement can be negotiated between the EU and the UK would be for the agreement to be ratified, and we can do that then at transition.
Given the alignment is already there at the moment, would it not be easier to negotiate quicker than 6 7 years?
The whole argument for Brexit, as I understand it, is to breach alignment.
Taoiseach, are you delighted?
So if the free trade agreement was the single market and the customs union, of course that could be done.
Something close to that that's not quite that, I think, is what Brexit is.
I think some of them are still in the cake and eat it space. So
Taoiseach, are you happy and delighted to be back in the spotlight today after you were clearly pushing the shade this day last week by Conor McGregor in Chicago?
I don't really mind either way, to be honest.
Were you happy to walk in the parade with him that day?
I was happy to walk in the parade in Chicago. I wasn't specifically walking with him.
Jen Bray?
As I understand, he was there promoting his whiskey.
But sorry, Taoiseach, the previous year you went to great lengths to organise a photograph with yourself and Arnold Schwarzenegger, who has let's say, a colourful past himself. But you seem to go to great lengths to avoid being pictured with Conor McGregor this year. Is there hypocrisy in that?
Yeah, it didn't go to great lengths at all. We happened to be at the same event and met each other in the corridor. So.
But Taoiseach, you were 2 people apart, and then you were 5 people apart when you started walking. That seemed to be a deliberate effort to avoid him.
Like I was there at the parade at the invitation of the organisers representing the country. Conor McGregor was there, I believe, at the invitation of the Plumbers Union. You know, obviously he's had some trouble with the law in recent months, and I wouldn't condone or like to be associated with the kind of actions he's been involved in, which include prosecution in New York and a potential prosecution.
But you're okay to be associated with the actions that Arnold Schwarzenegger was involved with?
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to.
Jennifer Ray,
former governor of California.
Taoiseach, you previously